Thank you, Sarah. And I'm conscious that I'm standing between you and lunch, so I'll try and be fairly quick. So I thought it might be useful, given particularly what Alex was talking about, just to talk a bit about what Bosch has been doing in terms of carbon reduction and our journey. So as Lionel mentioned, we're a global industrial concern. We have 410,000 associates, so that's a bit less than the population of Bristol. Across 60 countries, 400 sites. So in many ways, we are basically a small country or a decent sized international city when it comes to our energy consumption and really our carbon footprint as well. Bosch is interesting, as Lionel alluded to. We don't really have shareholders. We're owned by a charitable foundation. And this means that we have quite a long view when it comes to these sorts of projects, R&D and sustainability. Sustainability was very important to Robert Bosch, our founder. He was one of the pioneers of the early 20th century conservation movement. So he cared about this stuff. He would go around the factory late at night shouting at people who left the light on. So I think it's always been something that matters to us. We also view it from a business point of view. We need to invest in the future of the planet, just as you need to invest in the future of the business. There's no point, if people can't buy our products because of climate change, there's not really very much point in doing it. So we need to do these things, not only for its own sake, but for solid business reasons. And what we've achieved, well, we went carbon neutral in 2020. Which was quite an accomplishment and one we're very proud of. This is scope 1 and 2 carbon neutrality, not scope 3. So we did this in several ways, which I'll come on to, but our target now really, as Alex mentioned, the difficulty of scope 3 and working out ways of decarbonizing not only our supply chain, but also the products we're selling. So on the supply chain side, we're working very hard to make sure that the contracts that we're signing with suppliers, which already have an awful lot of ethical stuff in there, in terms of use of slave labor and all this stuff, we need to make sure that there's actually also CO2 stuff in there, and we're holding our suppliers to the same standards that we hold ourselves. And a lot of that also involves talking to suppliers and supporting them to really help them achieve these targets. On the other side, the products that are sold, we're obviously working very hard to make sure that the washing machines and the various different appliances that Lionel mentioned are produced to be as low energy as possible. We're also doing a lot on the other side of things. So in terms of, say, the diesel generators that Sarah mentioned, we're developing solid oxide fuel cells that can hopefully replace those and improve air quality and also CO2 emissions. We're doing a lot with electrification of vehicles. We're the #1 vehicle supplier in the world, but also things like hydrogen. So we're very heavily involved in terms of producing the technology that will hopefully help everyone else be carbon neutral as well. Someday we will hopefully be in a world where, Bosch hydrogen boilers can be delivered using a hydrogen fuel cell truck, which has also been developed by Bosch. So those sorts of things we're very keen on. In terms of how we went carbon neutral ourselves, really there were 4 pillars. One was energy efficiency, and we've invested a huge amount in really trying to drive down the energy usage that we have. And we actually treat this, it's run by the same department that does health and safety. And so really, if a Bosch site fails its energy efficiency inspection, that's the same as having some sort of workplace problem involving safety. So it's taken very seriously, it's very heavily audited. And it's quite helpful in that because we produce a lot of these products ourselves, we can test them ourselves. So for example, in Denham, our headquarters in the UK, we installed a Phantom, which is a monitoring system that really lets you drive down into exactly what power every device in the facility uses, work out if it's being used for the optimum efficiency and if there are problems, and then replacing any devices that do cause problems. So you can really get into the granular level like that. Then there's green electricity. And we, at the moment, every Bosch site only uses green electricity. We, even if it costs us more, we make sure we're using renewable energy. So for example, in Mexico, as mentioned here, we source 80% of our energy from a single wind farm. We're using this hopefully as a way of driving the construction of new wind farms and solar farms by guaranteeing the manufacturers that we will use their energy. So there's a guaranteed market there already. So it helps that energy transition hopefully across society too. New clean power. So we're also developing a lot in terms of our products, which we're using, but also making sure that all of our sites, they generally now have wind turbines, they have PV. And so we're driving that forward. And finally, offsetting. Offsetting is not ideal. We still do it. There are some things that we can't quite work out how to decarbonize yet. It's about less than a third of the total, but we're really trying to progressively drive that down. And over by 2030, we're hoping to basically eliminate that entirely. So that's a really, really brief canter through what we're doing on CO2. We're quite proud of what we've done. We hope that it shows that a large industrial concern can actually make these changes and do it quickly. And if you have any questions or you want any advice how your organization might be able to do it, come and have a chat with me afterwards. Thanks. Is that okay?